first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. Thank you for joining us. We are live streaming here at the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, but I want to pull that up because we've got some shots of the Oregon coast there for you. That is Seaside. That's a lot of people on that beach right now, even with, looks like some wind and some clouds coming in, so people enjoying the Oregon coast. But we're going to be talking about the coast during this segment because did you know you can also forage for your own food on the coast? We're going to be discussing that. Again, as I mentioned, we are here in the newsroom. We're here every weekday. We start at 1 o'clock. We go throughout the afternoon. We cover a wide range of topics, but this is one that's definitely interesting. And there are some classes that you can take to learn how to forage at the coast and how to cook what you find and all of that. We're going to get into the details of that. Joining us, we have Alanna from Shifting Tides Northwest, and always great to have you here on the show to talk about some of these different programs and things that you take part in. But this one is pretty fascinating, the idea of foraging at the coast. Before we get into that, would you mind, just letting everybody know a little bit about yourself and the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. My name is Alanna Kieffer. I'm the owner of Shifting Tides. I'm a marine science educator and a coastal foraging guide, and started Shifting Tides with the hope of bringing more people out to the coast, learning about our intertidal ecosystems, our coastal ecosystems, but through the lens of food.
Through the lens of food. And there's various ways that you do that, but teaching people more about it. So I guess, to start off with this, where did you find your interest in foraging at the Oregon coast?
Yeah, funny enough, I grew up with two parents who were both chefs. My brother fell into that trade, so he is now a chef. So I grew up with this huge love and appreciation of food in all forms, but a lot of food, coming from our wildlands. And moved to the Oregon coast, studied marine biology, and really dove into the science and the world of marine biology, but inevitably came back to this world of food, right? I have a big love of food and just discovered that a big way to reach people's hearts is through food. So why not integrate marine biology and foraging and take people out into the coast, really engaging with this ecosystem?
Combining the two things together and then, getting it out there for everybody. Well,
Yeah.
for the Oregon coast, what should people know? Can you give us like an overview, maybe, of a beginner's lesson of what people should know about foraging at the Oregon coast?
Yeah, there's a lot to know. There's a lot that goes into it, but we have really, really abundant and diverse ecosystems here in Oregon. So, with a 10-foot tide change that happens twice a day, it leaves a lot of space and a lot of room for a lot of different organisms to grow, from shellfish to seaweed. So, we have a huge diversity of seaweeds here on the Oregon coast. We have various shellfish species like mussels and many different types of clams, and they're all fairly accessible. You can get a shellfish license in Oregon for a really reasonable rate, and it's really, not too hard to go out and learn how to forage your own food. But there's, of course, regulations and limits involved in all those things to keep it sustainable and keep it healthy and happy for everybody. So knowing those things, paying attention to the tides, and just realizing that we're in this really abundant place, I think is where it all starts.
Yes, so much out there. And, when you go through a class, what are some of those main things that people should know as far as, what's safe to possibly forage or what's, ethical to forage?
Yeah, there's really good regulations written out by Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. That's who you get a shellfish license from, or any sort of fishing license from. For the foraging that I do, it's all tide dependent. So the tides are really the thing that I am looking at hour by hour on the Oregon coast. And then, we also do have really extreme differences in our ocean conditions from, say, winter to summertime. So not only the tides, but paying attention to what the ocean is actually doing, in terms of swell and currents and all sorts of things like that, to make sure you're not putting yourself in danger. And then in terms of species and knowing what to harvest, it's, there's seasonal closures for certain species for their mating, and there's seasonal closures for shellfish biotoxins and things like that. So it's just a matter of kind of learning what you're foraging and paying attention to the channels that you need to pay attention to.
Staying up to date or taking a class and learning through that way too, I would imagine would be a good way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And can you tell us, about some of this spring program that you have for what people could go out and do?
Yeah, we're really excited. We just started our spring season yesterday. Spring is the time on the Oregon coast that you can actively forage for live seaweed. So we announced a lot of our foraging classes for actually our whole lineup of spring classes are already up on our website. This Friday, I'm actually coming into Portland to go to Pals with Us on Hayden Island, where we'll do a deep dive into seaweeds. And I'll have a seaweed touch tank and a lot of different tastings that you can try that are, preserved forms of seaweed from kelp pickles to kelp seasonings. And then Pals is going to do a whole seaweed menu on the side. On the coast, we have a lot of seaweed foraging workshops coming up almost every weekend for the next couple weeks. So you can come out and learn about the ecosystem and then actively forage for various shellfish and seaweeds. I also have seaweed cyanotype workshops. You can get into the art form of seaweeds. We have some razor clamming and bay clamming happening, some tide pooling. So if you're more interested in just exploring the nooks and crannies and finding out about all the different species that live here, we do a lot of that. So yeah, lots of fun things happening this spring.
I mean, it sounds like there's so much out there. What's one of the most surprising things for people to find out about that they could forage on the Oregon coast?
To be honest, I think it's seaweed. I think that seaweed is something that's so overlooked on the coast. There's a lot of people out there crabbing and clamming and maybe gathering mussels, but we live on a coastline that has some of the highest kelp and seaweed diversity on the planet, and it's not really a resource that a lot of people on our coastline are utilizing. So I think whether you're interested in eating seaweed or not, I always see that when people start to see this diversity and abundance of kelps on our coast, it really just they gain a deeper appreciation of what really does lie underneath the water, and it kind of makes you appreciate every beach walk differently because you get excited about any little seaweed that washes up on shore.
I love it. Yeah, because you're learning about that too. Lance, you mentioned, whether you're eating it or not, learning about that diversity. What is it about the Northwest waters that make it such a diverse place?
Oh, that's a good question. We have really, really nutrient-rich waters. So the Oregon coast is not known to be this warm water swimming destination. But what our cold waters do is they allow a lot of nutrients to populate everything that is on our coastline. So we have really murky, kind of dark gray waters. But the reason our waters are dark and murky is because they are full of nutrients. So they're full of tiny microscopic plankton that all of these shellfish depend on for food, right? So it's just a really, yeah, cold, nutrient-rich environment.
And a lot of things sounds like that you can forage. So very cool. Well, for people who want to find out more information, on this and maybe take one of the classes or go to one of your classes like the one that's going to be here in Portland, where can they go to find out the information?
My website has all the information about all of these workshops. So shiftingtidesnw.com is where they're all listed. And then I do a lot of education on Instagram and TikTok as well at Shifting Tides Northwest.
All right, Alanna, thank you for joining us. Always appreciate having you out here, and it's fascinating. Now I want to try some seaweed. I definitely need to make that happen. But yeah, thanks for being here with us on Fox 12 Now.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Hope to see you on the beach.
Yeah, for sure. I think maybe we should do a foraging class here. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody, for joining us. This is Fox 12 Now. We're going to take a quick break. So stick right with us on whatever platform you are on, and I will talk to you in just a few minutes with more. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.